You got to have some, I feel like some amount of safety and
Right.
in your life to be able to kind of proceed forward. So I'd be curious to hear, all the things you've talked about some of the unique challenges, if you will, that come with serving this audience. Can you talk a little bit about Lifeworks programs? What
Absolutely.
are some of those special, maybe they're super specialized, maybe they're not, but for someone out there that has now heard about this, what are some of the programs that Lifeworks either has created or, manages, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So we actually have about 20 different programs within LifeWorks, right? So over a lot of years, we've built a very large continuum of support for youth, because what works for some youth won't work for other youth. And we believe very strongly that youth kind of know what they need, right, to help them on their pathway. So we've developed a menu, but it's organized under 3 core beliefs. All of our programs are organized under 3 core beliefs. The first is that everybody deserves a place to call home, right? But what looks like home for some doesn't look like home for others. And this is the weird home store, right? We know this, that
Absolutely.
people need what works for them to build that safety. So we operate emergency shelters, transitional living programs. We have apartment-based programs where youth receive time-limited financial and service support while they're getting on their feet. But we also have active street outreach programs, just reaching out to youth who maybe are recently on the street to help kind of provide that, to engage and provide that pathway off the street. And then we have a program that we call Diversion that's working with foster care, juvenile justice, school districts to identify youth who are at risk of homelessness, so we can provide support and services before they have to endure that trauma, right? So a place to call home is obviously really important. Second thing we believe is very important is that everybody deserves the opportunity to learn and to work at their own pace, in areas they're interested in, and in ways that, frankly, normalize and celebrate the so-called mistakes of failure along the way, right? Because we've all had them, right? I don't know what you did in your first job, but, I'm not at my first job.
Correct.
Right? Because I learned many things flipping hamburgers. Mostly I learned a lot about what I didn't want to do, right? And then that led to, and I stunk at it as a result.
For a very long time, one of my career stops, I created and managed an internship program. And it's funny that you say that, because that was literally the thing that I said at every single orientation to the kids that we had come through our program, was that many of you may find out what you want to do. And some of you may discover what you don't want to do.
Yes.
And they are of equal value. I had
sure.
come to me one point. He was interning in the accounting department. And I was working at SiriusXM. So it was like a sexy media company, super cool. And he was working in the accounting company. And at the end, we did a final evaluation. And he sits down and he's like, I don't think I want to do this, like, for my career. And it wasn't because he had a bad experience or had a bad mentor or anything like that. And he was very candid about it. He's like, none of those things were bad. I now have been able to see what it's like. And, so you saying that brings up all of that for me. And I appreciate it. And I get it. I've seen it firsthand also, the value of learning what you don't want to do just as much as what you want to do.
It's really important. My first job flipping hamburgers taught me a lot about, it taught me a few things about responsibility, right? And started some restaurant skills that served me very well through college. But it taught me a lot about what I didn't want to do. So then the next job similarly taught me a little bit more about what I want to do, and also some stuff about what I didn't want to do. Motivated me to get my college applications in on time. But this is the kind of runway that's gradual, that's developmental, that's age appropriate, and all youth deserve to have access to those kind of learning opportunities. But it's different if you grow up in foster care. If you grow up in foster care, you may or may not be allowed to have an after-school job, or you may not have had people in your lives, so you've been in 20, 30 foster care placements, you may not have had a consistent person talking to you about what they see as your strengths, what they see as your talents, really kind of engaging you in this thought process
I think
about what you want to be.
That mentoring piece, whether it's a parent or someone else, is so important. I recently had, there was a college professor. So I lived, breathed, slept at our college radio station. And thank God, like it was, I don't know what I would do if I didn't find my college radio station. I don't know. But this professor was so instrumental in my life. And actually recently he passed away. But I've been doing this whole project, gathering up all of my colleagues, all of my fellow students that we went to school together and talking about him and celebrating him. And I think when you talk about that idea of a mentor, again, whether it's a parent, sometimes a parent mentor is the trickiest, right?
Yeah.
Because they're your parent.
Yeah.
You know? So I can't tell you how many times in my career at various times they've been like, I agree with the parent. They're like, can you just tell them though? Because they don't listen to what I say. And then when all of a sudden the same words can be said and they're like, oh yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Like he said it, but the parents sitting in the corner like, I don't even like, what the heck? So I can appreciate that aspect too of building up this trust network. I have to believe that's critically important too. And they're developing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah. And that can't be rushed. Right? If you were, again, like a youth who grew up in foster care, there have been a lot of adults that you've trusted and maybe been let down because a placement didn't work out, or you got transferred to another placement and nobody talked to you about it. So there's a lot of trust is a tricky issue, right? You really have to, in doing this work, you have to do what you say you're going to do, and a lot of times that just means listening. Right, listening to what it is that their dreams are, even if that takes a while because they're not used to being asked. So the opportunity to learn and work is essential, and we have several programs that address that. But then the final piece, so we've got a place to call home, the opportunity to learn and work. But then the final piece is also foundational, and that's that everybody deserves the chance to heal from the trauma that life brings. And, you know, anybody listening to this has experienced trauma in their lives. We all, you don't get through life without escaping trauma. But the youth that we're serving have already had way more than their share of trauma. Youth in foster care are twice as likely as U.S.-Iraq war veterans to experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Wow. And what we know about trauma is trauma, especially at a young age, can impede learning. It can impede emotional development. It comes at a real cost. We also know, though, a whole lot more about how to heal trauma than we used to. Into the adult years, the brain is still plastic, but it is incumbent on us to create healing environments for our youth. And we are a trauma-informed system of care at Lifeworks, meaning we really go the extra mile to understand the mindset of youth who have experienced just very, very terrible things. We also have a collection of mental health services, many of them evidence-based, that give youth a wide choice in how they want to engage in their recovery. So we have everything from counseling, we have office-based counseling, we have community-based counseling, we have individual counseling, group counseling, psychiatric support. We also have a program called peer support, where a youth can develop a relationship with somebody who has walked in their shoes and can share their life experience as part of the healing process. So, you know, like with our other programs, you know, we've got this offering, and for our youth, it's not so much that, you know, we say, hey, nice to meet you. Here's what we've got that we think you need it. It's more like, hey, tell us about yourself. What's got you stressed out now? What's got you excited now? Where do you want to go? How can we help? Right? And whatever feels safe and right to them in terms of engaging in mental health services or workforce or housing, that's the direction that we go. And because we have so much we can offer in service, it's in a journey that is different for every youth. That can be in one Lifeworks program. It can be in 5 Lifeworks programs. It can be over a real short period of time, or it can take a couple of years, because again, that's just kind of the natural runway for young adults, that they need folks hanging in with them.